All right, guys, we're starting our pepper seeds. For me, filming this video right now, it is February 9th, 2025. I was shooting for mid-February, and I'm pretty much there. We're at about 10 weeks till our last frost date. So I usually start them 10 to 12 weeks before our expected last frost, which is about April 20th for us here in Pennsylvania, zone 7A, but we're really kind of on the border of 6B, 7A. And I'd like to thank you for coming back to Garden and Grease. And if you're new here, please don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and share this with any of your gardening friends. All right, let's get into it. I'm not just sowing pepper seeds today. I'm actually gonna also throw some greens in. I got some spinach and some romaine lettuce that I'm gonna start just to start to have something to put out really early. We're not waiting till our last frost to put these outside, and then we're gonna cover them with some garden fleece on really cold nights. But once we transplant them outside, we'll cover them with garden fleece. But I want to get some kind of greens going. I've been eating a copious amount of greens and I've been having to buy them. So I can't wait to have some growing fresh outside.
Okay, I just want to show you guys that I have this, it's 1/4-inch hardware mesh. It's just a chunk of it. I don't even have it framed. I swear one day I'll frame it, make it a nice easily usable, framed, what's the word I want to use? Sieve. Just to get the bigger chunks, all the bag stuff I've been getting, I've tried a couple different brands. Even though it's seed starting mix, like here's some, this stuff still has some chunks, so it didn't, it's a 1/4-inch mesh, so some stuff's gonna fall through. I could run it through again, but I mixed, this is literally like 3 different bags I have left over from last year because I'm trying not to spend money and use what I have. So I'm using this up. It's all organic options. I was testing some different seed starting soils last year. I wish I had the extra money to get Pro Mix. There's a big chunk. To get Pro Mix, I'd like to try that, but around here locally, the only way I can get it is in like 50-pound, like these huge blocks, and it's like 50-60 bucks a block, just out of my price range. So I think this would be really good for seed starting. All right, that's what I'm working with.
And I pre-moistened it, like holding into form. Okay guys, I want to explain really quick that I break up each task or job that I do for gardening, for all my hobbies and everything, into workable increments. Like this morning sifted the soil. This is like an hour later. I have some time in between everything else I'm doing. And I'm watering, pre-moistening my soil. It'll sit here while I finish cooking lunch, and then I'm going to fill up my little containers and put seeds in them if I have time. But I'm also going to prepare, before I start the seeds actually, my grow area. So last night I kind of cleaned the area up. I got to go get my heat mat ready, make sure I have everything ready to go. Then I'll put my seeds in the soil. So, and I've said it in other videos, I rarely get everything done for a single task, like a single job done at one moment in time. It happens over the course of time, and that's what you have to do when you have a busy schedule. Even if you're doing the things that you love, sometimes you have to work them into manageable little chunks. We're ready to go. And then I have these cell pack containers. I did say I was gonna buy last year for the gardening season. I said I was gonna buy some nice new really sturdy ones, but then I decided to do a extremely low buy year this year. So I had some that I had cleaned up super good, some that I didn't use last year, these like flimsy ones. So we're gonna use these up, and then maybe later on the year, if I see some really good ones go on some super discount, maybe I will pick up some sturdy ones that'll last many, many years. But for this year, this is what I'm using. Something else you can use to at least get your seeds started would be something like the Chinese takeout, plastic containers like yogurt containers, sour cream containers, something like that. if you're doing something like this, you're gonna have to up pot really soon. And honestly, even using these, I'm gonna have to up pot pretty quickly, but that's okay. I had some little ones like this. I'd like to have them a little bit deeper though, but these are tiny little containers. I don't know if succulents or something came in those, I'm not sure. But I save all of my nursery pots so that when it's time to up pot, I can use those, which I had washed like all of my containers in the fall, so I would have them ready to go and I wouldn't be worried about it when it's cold out and complaining that I didn't do it in fall. So I did do it in fall. Also, you can use like solo cups, something like that. You can start these in solo cups if you wanted. There's just a lot of extra soil involved if I'm starting my seed in solo cups. So I like to start a little smaller and then up pot. So I labeled these as well. And I use painter's tape because that's what I had closest to my hands when I was preparing all of this. So I put down what I'm planted in, and I'm doing 4 of the chocolate peppers, which are saved seeds from last year, and yellow peppers, which are also saved seeds from my hardiest plants that put off the best production and the best fruit. I saved the seeds from. I have orange peppers, which I had a lot of really great orange pepper plants. For whatever reason, I didn't save seeds from them, but I do have some of them left from the same packet. So I've got orange peppers. We're doing Jimmy Nardellos. That's for my spinach, and my romaine are gonna go in this one. And then I have King of the North, which usually does pretty good. They didn't do as good for me last year, so fingers crossed this year they do really good. And some more orange bell peppers on this side. And yes, you will notice that this is my craft room and my seed starting room. It's like my playroom basically. So I have my sewing machine, my Cricut, and everything else sitting around. So I just kind of moved stuff on the desk here and made space. So let's start with what I have closest. Oh, the chocolate. Yep, the chocolate peppers. So I'm just shaking some in. I'm not pushing really hard. I just want to make sure there's no air pockets down in here. Now this isn't soggy wet soil or mix. It's just nice and damp. Perfect, to be honest with you. Make sure we have enough in each one. Okay. Now I am I didn't buy any new pepper seeds this year, and these ones are saved. So I'm going to do 2 seeds in each hole, just in case. So these are the chocolate pear, my chocolate pepper. And you know, I'm like a 1/4 of an inch from the top with my soil, basically, maybe a 1/2 inch. I can call it a 1/2 inch. Okay, I'm gonna give a little sprinkling of soil. I'm not filling it all the way to the top. Just a tiny, tiny bit on there. Like that. And then when we're done, I'll show you what I'm gonna do to ensure that we don't have any issues. Because last year I had a lot of issues with my seed starting of my peppers. I don't want to have those issues this year, but we're going to wait a second and I'll show you that. Leave you desiring that information. Okay. So now this is our yellow peppers, and you know, you'll notice that most of what I'm doing are bell peppers this year, except for the Jimmy Nardellos, and that is because, I mean, with a bell pepper, I get more pepper for each pepper. If you think about it, they're larger, and I can fill my freezer with bell peppers faster than I can fill my freezer with smaller peppers. Plus, we don't eat hot peppers. Did I put 2 in that one? So we don't eat hot peppers. So I grew hot peppers last year, and I had great plans, and I was going to try to do stuff with it, but then I realized I'm gonna stop growing things that we don't actually use. I'm not wasting my time, my money, my heartache on things that we don't actually use. I was on the fence about doing some poblanos because there are some recipes that I like. But then I got to thinking, I actually still have poblano in my freezer. So I'm not going to grow anymore. Okay, so let me show you my magic trick. All right, I'm topping mine with vermiculite, horticultural vermiculite. We had a pretty big fungus gnat issue last year, which sucked. And if I would have started the year out coating the tops of these with vermiculite, the idea is the fungus gnats, if they come out, you know, because it could already be in the soil, the eggs for them could already be in the soil. So if the fungus gnats come out, they have to lay their eggs in soil. So they won't be able to get back into the soil to lay their eggs because there'll be a covering of vermiculite on top of them. Okay. So I'll end up giving these a sprinkling of water, but that soil was nice and damp. So we'll be okay for now. Okay, now the next one. Okay, so I'm gonna do that for all of my seeds. Well, we'll do that for all my pepper seeds, and then we'll come back and we'll do the lettuce seeds. And honestly, I wish I would have watered the first tray before I put the vermiculite on, because if I water after that, it really pulls and moves around a lot. After this watering, all of my waterings are going to be bottom waterings. I'll show you that in a second, but before I put vermiculite on these other two trays of peppers, I'm just going to hit them with a tiny amount of water because the soil's already wet, moist. I just want to kind of activate those seeds a little bit there. And the water will help kind of settle the soil a little bit better to make sure there's contact. The seeds have complete contact with the soil. So you see how nothing really moved when I did that? I go to water these ones, it's gonna move around a lot. All right, so when I say bottom water from now on, I'm gonna put them in a tray kind of like this, pour water in it. And I'm gonna put like, say that much water in there. Maybe like not even half this tray, but close. And I'm gonna sit my little containers down in there. And I'm gonna let them sit for like 10 minutes, maybe not even that. If I see the top of them turn nice rich brown, I'll pull them out. If I don't see it like turning nice rich brown after like 10 minutes, I'll pull them out, let them sit, and then look at them like 10 minutes after that. And if like the moisture didn't already come up to the top, then I'll stick them back in a little bit longer if the top's still a little bit dry. But that usually does it. It doesn't even usually need 10 minutes. I am going to put a little bit more on top of that one there. And I'm going to top these off with the vermiculite as well. As for my spinach and my romaine lettuce, a lot of lettuces have really tiny seeds. So you know how I put a little bit of soil on top of these seeds before I put the vermiculite on? With the really tiny seeded, tiny seeds, I don't do that. Okay, the romaine's not so bad. Okay, but those are still pretty small. You can see how small these are. So, I don't know, it's hard to tell maybe because they're so close together here. But I won't be putting that soil on top. I'll just put vermiculite on top. And any seed that you have, really, you don't have to put the soil on top. You can just do straight vermiculite on top and it won't matter. It'll be okay. So I'm going to do the same thing for my spinach, and which these are a lot bigger seeds. Let me show you these. So I will put a little bit of soil on these just because I want to have good contact. They're nice little round, kind of ball looking seeds a little bit. So they're nice size. I'll put them in soil. A lot of the time, unless it specifically says that they need light to germinate. A lot of the time, if you just go with the idea that the seed should be buried twice as deep as the size of the seed to make sure you have enough covering over top of them. Some seeds do need light to germinate, but you can still put a little thin layer of vermiculite on top of those seeds and it'll still get the amount of light that they need. As long as it's a thin layer, it's not really thick, you'll be okay. And then it'll help also tamp down any of the issues with fungus, gnats, damping off. It helps with a lot of the indoor growing issues that you may come across.
Okay, so I just plugged this in because it's been raveled up for storage. Let it heat up so it'll lay flat. I have my lights here. I actually have a couple sets, but I'm just doing the one for right now for my seeds, and then once my plants are like up potted and going, I'll have them on the other racks. And yes, this is also like my sewing room and everything all in one. This is a heat like thermostat with a little probe that'll go in the soil. And I have this all on a strip that has always on and time. So I set my timers here. When I do onions, I put them on the top one, which I'm not doing any this year. It's just a really long grow period. I didn't feel like dealing with it. I'm just gonna buy starts. I have this one on a separate timer because I gauge the time of light that it gets differently than the rest of my plants. So keep that in mind. Like onions, I would have them going to match the amount of daylight that is outside. And with these, I'm gonna have these on 16 to 18 hours, depending on the plant, but pretty much just 16 hours on, 8 hours off for most of my other plants.
Okay, so I have my heat mat on, I have my whole setup ready to go. I have my lights set up and ready to go. I'm not gonna turn them on yet until I know I'm getting closer to when my seeds are gonna germinate. If you don't have any idea of how long it really takes your seeds to germinate, just turn your lights on right away when you put them onto the heat mat, and you don't miss that window, because as soon as they come out of the soil, they sprout up through. You want to make sure they get light right away. So I'll basically just wait like 3 days. Basically is all it really takes most of the time. Bell peppers, pepper seeds can take a little while to get going. But I have pretty good luck with them sprouting pretty early, 4 or 5 days. So I'm going to take, now, if you don't have a humidity dome, you're doing something like this, just smaller packs. You're not doing whole flats with the humidity dome over top of it. I honestly just use a gallon-sized Ziploc bag. And I think I get my best early sprouting with this. I don't seal it tight all the way though. I'll show you. But I'm gonna slide these inside of my Ziploc bag on top of my heat mat, and then I'll show you what I mean about how much I actually shut it.
Okay, so I just have these two here, and these were bags that they're actually used bags. I washed them out. I had stuff, in the freezer or whatever in them. I cleaned them out, so I'm getting double use out of these Ziploc bags. I leave them open about that much and keep an eye on them. Make sure I'm not building too much condensation in here. And then I'll crack it open some more. I also use that opening for the probe for my heat pad. So I have my heat pad under here, my probe in and down inside of one of the little cells. Now it actually would probably be better for me to stick it in this one further away. The center of the mat tends to be warmer than anything around the edges. But I've pretty much got these fitting nice and neatly into the center of the mat. So it should be okay. And this one is open the same amount as well, right there. Now, if you're not sure how long it's gonna take your seeds to sprout, just turn your lights on now. And you won't have to worry if they sprout and the lights won't be on. But I'm just gonna wait a couple of days. There's no point in me having on just yet.
And a quick reminder, while I'm editing this, I wanted to remind you that as soon as you see the sprouts coming up, little greens coming up, turn off the heat mat or take them off the heat mat. My lettuce and spinach will sprout before my peppers. That's why I put them in separate little containers so I can take them off the heat mat before my peppers come off. Actually, my lettuce will even sprout before my spinach, but spinach likes a cooler temperature anyway, just like the lettuce, so it'll be okay. Okay, so I only did a couple of each of the spinach and the romaine, just to kind of get me started. I have some winter sown, which I will link this year's winter sowing video, my first winter sowing, and some from last year. I'll link down in the description below if you want to see those. And go ahead and check out, we have a ton of videos from last year and the year before, sowing seeds, our success in the garden, some failures along the way as well. But I will be succession sowing more leafy greens. I'll wait a few weeks. I'll do some more. All right, guys, if you enjoyed this video, you want to see more like this, please subscribe if you haven't done so already. Hit that like button. It really helps our little channel out, and share this with anybody that you think might like this information or just enjoy it for the entertainment of it. All right, guys, thank you for stopping in and watching another episode of Garden in Greece. Have a good one.